X, both while in the Nation of Islam and after Malcolm X's departure from the Nation of Islam. This man stayed by his side, protected him, and was actually there when the actual assassination of Malcolm X took place. So you have living history in the room right now. Somebody who did not read this in a book. If it's in a book, it's because he's in the book along with Malcolm. He was there participating. He did everything that he could do to make sure that he was safe, but circumstances, as you know, can sometimes be very different than what we planned. And the result of it was something very, very unfair in the history of our community, and that is the assassination of one of us by someone else who's supposed to be one of us. So without further ado, his name back then was James 67. Was that your ex?
Yes,
sir. Yes, and his name today is Brother Abdur Razzaq. So let's bring him up. You can sit or stand, whatever you're comfortable.
You know, life is funny. A sister that I met at Simultap about a month or two ago asked me would I come to this place some Sunday. So I thought she was a Jehovah's Witness tricking me. So I said, I don't know, but I live near here. And she kept pestering me. And I said, well, 85% I'll come, but the other 15% I reserve. So I figured I'm gonna come and look, because we did this in the nation. We never went anywhere without reconnoitering first. I came here and I looked at this place, which I had never heard of. To make a long story short, I came 2 Sundays. There's some group that meets here every other Sunday. So I came and it was pretty nice. So I'm going to Gil Noble's affair, something down the street. And I said, well, I'm gonna write a check for these people because they seem like decent people that are trying to resuscitate the so-called Negro. But I didn't know whether the group that meets here was called the Sankofa Academy. So I didn't know who to make the check out to. So that's why I was looking in the door. And the brother opened the door. I didn't know that anything was going on here. I can give you some history, and I will. And I may offend some, but history does that. History is like a two-edged sword. It hurts some and it cures some. Those of you who know about the Nation of Islam knew that there was a break. But there wasn't a complete break, and it was quite confusing to me. And it still is. In my opinion, there was no one in the Nation of Islam that was as tied to Mr. Muhammad as was Malcolm X. That's why I admired Malcolm X. Other than that, he was a spokesman for Mr. Muhammad. I was a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Is that clear? Right. People say I left the nation with Malcolm. That is not true. Malcolm was put out on December the 2nd because of a statement that he made. And he was in complete agreement with being put out. He didn't fight anything. He said, yeah, I made the statement. And the funny thing is, Malcolm never spoke for Mr. Muhammad without writing down what he was going to say. Other than that, he spoke, we would say, extemporaneously or without written notes. And December the 1st, 1963, 1 week after the assassination of the President of the United States, Mr. Muhammad himself was supposed to come to Manhattan Center and speak. Mr. Muhammad was going to speak in Flint, Michigan in October of 1963. The police wanted to come into the venue where he was to speak with their guns. and the fruit, and Mr. Muhammad said, no, you can't come in here with guns. So the police said, well, if we can't come in with the guns, you can't have the meeting. And Mr. Muhammad said, fine, we won't have a meeting. And they did not have that meeting. I believe it was October 17th, 1963. And I believe it was Michigan, but you historians could find out. But I know that Mr. Muhammad's decision was no white people from then on were to be allowed to come to any of the nation's meetings. So when December the 1st came, for some reason, Malcolm asked me to officiate at Manhattan Center rather than Captain Joseph. I went there, and when I got there, 2 white reporters were already in Manhattan Center. So I called Brother Malcolm, who was still at home, and I said, Brother Minister, there's 2 white reporters here. Shall we show them to the door? And he said, no, since they're already there, leave them there, but don't let any others in. So Malcolm came over, delivered his address, and at the end of the address, he said, are there any questions? And the reporter said, what do you think of the assassination of President Kennedy? Now, Mr. Muhammad had told all ministers, no one is to mention the murder of the president. This man was loved by the American public, and we don't have anything to say about that. But a reporter asked Brother Malcolm, what did you think about the assassination of President Kennedy? And Malcolm gave a long talk, 3-4 minutes. And then he said, the assassination of the president was a case of chickens coming home to roost. Now, unfair to history, people don't put in the rest of the part.
Right.
Malcolm said, and I am a farm boy.
That's right.
So chickens coming home to roost never made me sad. Chickens coming home to roost always made me glad. Exact words. But everybody puts in a part of what he says and doesn't put in the rest. And to me, that's not history. Mr. Muhammad said, history of all studies is best qualified to reward our research. And history is what happened, not what I would like to have happened, or what I think happened, or what might have happened. History is what happened. All right, December the 2nd, John Ali, who was the National Secretary, reported back to Mr. Muhammad what Brother Malcolm had said. And Brother Malcolm got sat down, December the 2nd. He was all right with that. And those of us who were in the nation at that time, man, if you spit on the sidewalk, Mr. Muhammad would put you out the mosque. He would put you out the mosque if you looked funny. And one of the great personalities that would put you out the mosque was Malcolm. I saw Malcolm threaten to put his wife out the mosque. Brother, I was stupefied. Captain Joseph, he had a habit of pulling on his pants like this. He would say, they don't come like the minister. They ain't none like Malcolm. Well, I didn't know what he was talking about. I was a lieutenant, but I never had nothing to do with Brother Malcolm. If Brother Malcolm wanted me to do something, he told Captain Joseph, and Captain Joseph told me, and I did it. So, and somebody said friend. I was not Brother Malcolm's friend. You're never friend to the boss. How you gonna be friendly with the boss? I was not friendly. I was a brother, as we said in the nation, there will be men in the ranks who will stay in the ranks. Why? I'll tell you why. Simply because they do not have the ability to get things done. And I proved to Brother Malcolm and to Captain Joseph that I could get things done. But I wasn't a friend to either one of them.
Yes.
How a lieutenant could be friend to the captain? Captain told me what to do, I did it. I didn't ask him why. Right? No, I say this because there were so many people that were not in the armed services, and they got this funny Mickey Mouse thing about how you get things done. Brother, when you dealing with the Negro, the so-called Negro, and you be friendly with him, then y'all drink beer and watch football and baseball, but don't try to get nothing done because you'll never be able to get nothing done. Now, I'm not playing to the crowd. I'm trying to explain things so people can understand what took place at that time.
Yes.
So, Brother Malcolm got put out the mosque. What's odd about that? Minister Wallace got put out the mosque how many times?
3, 4.
Okay. Minister George X. Patton in Philadelphia got put out the mosque. The whole Philadelphia mosque got sat down. Do you hear what I said? There was not one official in the Philadelphia. Y'all know about this? I used to have to go to Philadelphia on Wednesdays and Fridays because I worked for the Department of Welfare. And if you signed out for the field at 3 o'clock, you didn't have to sign back in for that day. So I Mickey Mouse them and I would go to Philadelphia and I had to pick the captain, I had to pick the minister, because the whole mosque has got sat down. See, the average person that wasn't in the nation at that time, they don't have the slightest idea what they're talking about, right? If you said, so-and-so's feet smell, that's 30 days. That was slack talk. Did you hear what I said? Don't get caught smoking a cigarette. That was 30 days out of the mosque. And you had to apply for readmission. You couldn't just come walking back in. You had to stand before the believers and hear what the charge was and ask them, would they let you back in the mosque? Fornication, a year out the mosque. Adultery, 5 years, a pound out the mosque. You couldn't come in the restaurant. You couldn't talk to a brother or sister except they say salam alaikum, and the only thing they could say back was wa alaikum salam. Because if you ask them what time is it, and you said 8:15, you got 5 years out the mosque too, because they had 5 years. Oh, listen, that was not no place to play, and I thrived on it. Because I had been in the United States Army where they treated me like a pound of last year's pig droppings. And I had to do what I was told, or I would end up in the Big 8, in the stockade they call it, where they give you cornflake sandwiches, a little box of cornflakes, a glass of milk, and a glass of water, and 2 pieces of bread. And you had to pour the water on the cornflakes to soften them up and put them between the 2 slices of bread. Well, when brothers came out the Big 8 and told me how it was in there, that's one place I did not ever want to go. It was bad enough being outside, right? Okay. Brother Malcolm accepted this. Now, it's a funny thing because I took him out of this bag. I've been going to the Schoenberg Library writing down notes that Brother Malcolm made. And the first 2 notebooks are things that he was making a tape to send to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and it was the outline. That tells everything that was going on. He told me a whole lot of things, but that's a little later. He was still with Mr. Muhammad. Accept that for me, please. I wouldn't come here and tell you no Mickey Mouse story. Muhammad Ali invited him to Florida. Now this is something that few people know, but I'm going to tell you about. J. Edgar Hoover and the Bureau of Special Services of the New York City Police Department determined, remember Mr. Muhammad was very sick. Mr. Muhammad had bronchial asthma. You don't think so? You go to the Schoenberg, you will see 80 radio broadcasts that Brother Malcolm made for Mr. Muhammad. He wrote them. I told you he wouldn't speak for Mr. Muhammad without writing it down. I have read them already, and I'm going to copy them too, because they're on microfilm now. J. Edgar Hoover, that dog, the head of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, wrote letters to Mr. Muhammad and had them signed like Malcolm. He had reporters that he told to print certain things in the newspaper. He had FBI agents write letters and send out a memorandum saying, mail these from a place so they cannot be traced back to the Bureau, and do not have them on a LHM. That meant letterhead memorandum. Don't put
nothing with the FBI. I have copies in my house. I'm not dreaming this up. I went to the Schoenberg for 2 years and read every FBI document that they had there, plus the Garrow's editions, and I copied them. Almost went broke and almost lost my eyesight. So these are things that nobody wants to talk about. They talk about like Mr. Muhammad had Brother Malcolm killed. I don't know whether he did or not. But the lies that they have told about me make me question anything like that. If you read Manning Marable's book, you will see a statement in there where Manning Marable says that Captain Joseph said, "Don't touch Malcolm. Anything else is all right." Well, I went around with Brother Malcolm, and the brothers would get in front of the door and start shifting back and forth. Malcolm said, "What are they doing?" I said, "They're not going to do nothing." He said, "Why do you say that?" I said, "Because they're wearing their nationals. Ain't no brother that was in New York's FOI going to commit any crime while he got his national on. Once he take that off, anything's not allowed." So he said, "Well, why are they doing that?" I said, "I don't know." This is what I didn't want to tell him. Brother Malcolm had mental illness in his family. His mother was institutionalized. His brother Reginald was institutionalized. So I said, what they doing, they trying to shake the brother up and make him do something unintelligent. You know why? Because Malcolm said, "You mess with the messenger, you mess with the messenger, Allah will burn your brains out." Because he saw this with his brother Reginald. So this is what I thought. But how you gonna tell a man that you admire and respect and he's carrying the world on his shoulders? Okay, the point I want to get to this is because you got people talking about Malcolm this, Wallace this, Lewis this, Silas that. Malcolm made Hajj. He left April the 13th, 1964. He came back May the 22nd or 23rd, 1964. We went to Chicago. He didn't even go to sleep. This tells you something about the man. He'd have been away, comes home, goes to the Hotel Teresa, and he says, "Brother James." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Get packed." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "We're going to Chicago." I said, "When?" He said, "Tonight." I said, to myself now, I said, "Wait a minute. This dude's been away for a month, comes back, ain't even been home yet, and he's planning to go to Chicago. On this trip, whose house did we go to? We went to Wallace Muhammad's house. So all of this business about the division and whatnot, now I'm Joe Dunn. They say, I'm Joe Neckbones. I don't know what the heck is going on. And I sat in the anteroom. There's like a room here. And who's sitting in there with me? Mr. Muhammad's grandson, Hassan Sharif, the son of Ethel Sharif. So we talking. Malcolm came out. And people say, "What were they talking about?" I said, "How am I going to tell you what they're talking about? I was sitting out with talking to Hassan Sharif." He said, "Didn't you ask him?" I said, "No, I didn't ask him nothing. I didn't ask him stuff." Now this takes me back to how I got involved with Brother Malcolm. I told you, if you said that brother got a pot belly, that's 30 days in the street. Well, I'm sitting in Temple No. 7 restaurant, and a brother named Charles 24X Smith starts talking about, yeah, Red. Don't call him Malcolm, call him Red. Call him Big Red. That's what he is, Red. I'm going to eat my bean soup. I said, what the hell is going on here to myself? I said, if you said that to the average believer, you get 30 days in the mosque. Well, Charles 24 ran the restaurant. He was like Captain Joseph's puppet. So I'm trying to figure this out. So I said, I see what's going on. They are trying to figure out which way I will bend. Am I with Malcolm or am I with Mr. Muhammad? I said, they got to be out of their mind. I said, I respect Malcolm because of the way he delivers Mr. Muhammad's message. I ain't got no particular, and I understood him and I liked him because I considered him, he's the only so-called Negro that I ever had respect for that wasn't a musician or athlete. And that kind of puzzled me, you know. I said, dang, this man. And I, at the time, thought I was smart. I want to tell you, I went to, everywhere I went, brother, people was amazed because I had a tremendous memory. So I thought I was smart. And I went to Mosque number 7 to prove that Malcolm was a fool. And man, he beat me to death with Mr. Muhammad's teaching, brother. I came out like this. I went 9 months. I didn't just go join the nation. So in any event, when they start talking about, yeah, call him Red, hey, don't call him Malcolm, and he Big Red. And this brother said something that really puzzled me. He said he never was with the messenger. I said, here's a man that's the minister of Mosque number 7, which is the biggest mosque in the nation, got more members than any mosque in the nation, the richest mosque in the nation. Here's Brother Malcolm, who is the minister, at this time he was minister of Mosque number 4 in Washington, D.C., because Minister Lucius B.R. got sat down. So now Malcolm is the minister of Mosque number 7, the minister of Mosque number, what is it, 12 or 11? 12 in Philly.
No, Boston.
11 is Boston. Yeah.
Well, 12. Okay. 12 in Philly, 7 in New York, and 4 in Washington, D.C. And he's the national representative of Mr. Muhammad. So I'm wondering, am I crazy or is this brother crazy? What does he mean he was never with Mr. Muhammad? Then to those of you who don't know, anytime anything went wrong in the Nation of Islam, from Boston, Massachusetts to Monroe, Louisiana, who did Mr. Muhammad send to straighten it out? Malcolm. Was Malcolm. So I'm saying, how is this brother going to say that Malcolm was never with Mr. Muhammad? Okay, let me speed it up, make a long story short. This same brother started talking about killing Malcolm. Yeah, you ought to kill him. He ought to be killed.